Very warm welcome, as I said, particularly to shareholders who've come here, also to my fellow directors. My name is Jonathan Trollip, and I'm Chair of Spheria Emerging Companies Limited. My fellow directors here on my left are Lorraine Behrens, Adrian Whittingham, and Alex Eilenfeld, who is an alternative for Adrian. We also have Calvin Kwok, the company secretary, on the end. And sitting in the front row there is Scott Wedette from Pitcher Partners. He's the company's auditor, and he's here to answer any questions shareholders may have in relation to the 2019 financial statements. I've been informed by the company secretary that we have a quorum, and so I now declare the meeting open. I'm advised there be no apologies recorded prior to the meeting. Does anybody in the audience have an apology from anybody they want recorded? Okay, thank you. Looking at the agenda for today's meeting, what we're going to have is we're going to have the chairman's address, followed by the formal business of the meeting. The agenda will be my address, which will be an overview of the company, its objectives, update on dividends, performance, and shareholder communications. We'll then move to the formal part of the meeting before closure, and that's the passing of the resolutions. And as mentioned earlier, following the formal business and the other AGMs, you'll have a chance to hear from the investment managers, Marcus and Matt, who's sitting down here in the front row. There'll be a chance at the investor presentations for general questions and answers. The board members will also be available to answer any questions you may have that relate to the company and the board as opposed to the investments. I've been informed that the notice of annual general meeting has been sent to all registered shareholders within the requisite notice period. Unless anybody has an objection, I'll take that notice as read. Nobody objects, thank you. Moving on to my presentation. As shareholders will be aware, Spheria was established to provide shareholders with exposure to an actively managed Australian and New Zealand small caps equity portfolio. The company's investment portfolio is managed by the management team at Spheria Asset Management Limited. And as I mentioned earlier, Matthew and Marcus will speak later today on to provide you with an investment update. In summary, the manager believes free cash flow drives valuations in the medium to long term, and that risk assessment is a critical overlay. So the manager seeks to identify smaller companies where the future value of cash flows can be reasonably ascertained, and their companies are assessed to be trading at a discount to their intrinsic value. The investment objectives of the company are firstly to outperform the benchmark, which is the S&P ASX Small Ordinaries Accumulation Index, over the full investment cycle, which the manager believes typically to be 3 to 5 years. Bear in mind, Spheria has been listed for just under 2 years. And secondly, provide capital growth over each investment cycle and income. And so we seek to maximize total shareholder return via a combination of capital growth and income, and also aiming to regularly pay fully franked dividends to shareholders. The company details are set out on the slide, and I've already introduced the board to you. The slide there shows the number of shares we have on issue and the market cap of the company and the current share price. As I mentioned earlier, the company aims to pay fully franked dividends on a regular basis, at least annually, and that's also subject to the usual legal caveat of available profits, cash flow, and obviously having the franking credits available. As at 30 September 2019, the profit reserve of the company had a closing balance of approximately 14 cents, and together with its franking account balance, it has sufficient reserves to pay fully franked dividends at the current rate that we have been paying over the next 2 years. So that, I think, should give comfort to shareholders that the balance sheet of the company is in pretty solid position to be able to continue the dividends that have been paid historically. In relation to that, just to recap on the dividends we've paid, we paid an initial dividend of 4 cents on 21 September 2018 and an interim dividend of 2 cents on 20 March 2019. Additionally, as we announced when we released the annual report, a 4 cent fully franked dividend for the 2019 financial year was paid to shareholders on 20 September 2019. In terms of company performance, the annualized NTA performance for the period from inception, that's November 2017 to 30 September 2019, was 3.7%. The performance of the benchmark for the same period was 7%. The company's annualized total shareholder return, or TSR performance, and that measures the change in share price adjusted for any dividend paid for the same period, was minus 3.6%. That's obviously a reflection of the company's share price of 1.77 as at 30 September 2019, compared with an issue price of $2 with a dividend of 10 cents paid during the period. It's obviously trading at a discount. We'll address that shortly. So the discount is currently 13%. The company's performance relative to its objective of beating the ASX Small Company Index has held its ground, having underperformed by about 2% per annum on a like-for-like basis to the index, despite a small cap index return that's been dominated by growth in technology companies. And that's not the typical hunting ground or value investment for Spheria, but I'll leave that to Matt and Mark to take you through that in due course. As I mentioned earlier, the shares are trading at a discount to NTA. We acknowledge that this is an unsatisfactory position for shareholders. I'm a shareholder, so I share the pain. But it's worth noting that SEC Spheria is not in a unique position, and anybody who follows the press will be aware that the vast majority of LICs are currently trading at a material discount to their net tangible assets. But in spite of this, we need to do, as a board and as a company and Pinnacle as administrators of the company, what we can to narrow this gap. And so we have implemented several initiatives. We've moved from monthly to weekly NTAs. We've increased shareholder communication and investor roadshows. And in August 2019, we instituted an on-market buyback. And that was after taking sounding views of different shareholders and research into their effectiveness. We announced that for a period of 12 months, and so far approximately 2.5 million or 2% of the shares of Spheria on issue have been bought back. We're actively monitoring the effects and outcomes of the buyback, but it's premature to assess its overall effectiveness. And we'll continue to monitor this and do what we can to address this discount. In terms of shareholder engagement, which is obviously one of the initiatives taken to narrow the discount by engaging a lot more with our shareholders, we increased our communication and transparency both with shareholders and with the broader market. We provide investment videos and insights, dividend updates, and financial results, full-year financial results and half-year, obviously, and they're all available on the company's website. We also engage media and present at industry investor conferences regularly. And if you haven't already done so, we do encourage you to provide your email address to our registrar, which is Atomic, to ensure that you are receiving the latest updates and invitations.